What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Leo coming to you guys with yet another video. Today we're reacting to 10 worst WWE Royal Rumble winners ever. Now, we are on the road to the Royal Rumble this Saturday at the time of recording this video, and we are going to go back down memory lane to see what Royal Rumble winners were probably going to be in the category as worst winners. And we can all agree that there have been some questionable winners in the past. I mean, off the top of my head, we could think of Alberto Del Rio, maybe Brock Lesnar, and Ronda Rousey. I think those, in my personal opinion, got to at least be in the running for at least worst Royal Rumble winners. But we're going to see what Simon Miller has to say and what he deems as worst Royal Rumble winners. Comment down below, who do you guys think is the worst Royal Rumble winner in the comment section down below. But let's get into it.
Welcome to Rumble season, my friend, and I'm not talking about the thing you used to buy for your N64 controller. I'm talking about the rule version. Given that we are creeping up to number 40 of these, though, which is absolutely terrifying, I am Simon Miller, and everybody in the What Coach Office has got together. We've kind of voted on the people that may have won the damn thing, and it didn't work out exactly as intended. It's just the law of averages. You can't hit home runs all of the time. Make sure you get in the comments and let us know your opinions too. Let's go. Number 10, Hacksaw Jim Duggan in 1988.
The original
this is not Hacksaw Jim Duggan's fault because, of course, this was the very first Royal Rumble that was showcased on television. WWE, or the WWF as it was known then, was still working out the kinks. Now, Duggan winning actually did make sense because his star was on the rise in the late 80s. Otherwise, there's nothing on the line here, which meant if a non-wrestling fan came in and said, oh man, what are they fighting for? You have to go, I don't know, like stakes, or pride, or, you know, just so in the locker room they can go, I won the first Royal Rumble. Who wouldn't want that? You also only get 20 entrants, but none of the gimmicks are here, and we aren't talking about every man for himself or both feet have to touch the floor. It's also really, really, really long. I suppose it just lacks the novelty that nowadays it does have. That's okay. It is number one. That's also why you do have to whack it out at number 10. If you were going to go through every single Royal Rumble, well, you could probably skip this one. Number 9, Sheamus in 2012.
Oh boy, this one's going to be interesting. Now, 2012, Sheamus did win. Honestly, my personal opinion, I don't think he should have won. I think if anybody should have won, it should have realistically been Chris Jericho. I think Chris Jericho and CM Punk had the better story going into WrestleMania that year. So it kind of would have just made all this more sense in the world if Chris Jericho would have won the Royal Rumble, but they gave it to Sheamus. I understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to push Sheamus and stuff like that, but it just wasn't working in my personal opinion. And going back to the whole Jim Duggan thing, I don't necessarily think he might be the worst winner. I feel like it kind of did what it was supposed to do and help elevate someone new who may have not been able to establish himself at that level just yet. So I can't say too much about it just because I wasn't around during that time, but I'm going to just give my thoughts and opinions on that at the best way I can. But comment down below, let me know if you guys were around during that time period. Do you guys think Jim Duggan was the right winner, and do you think he is the worst winner, at least for that lineup that they did have?
I think this one is ridiculous. Yep, I pretty much got outvoted here, but some people do think the Irishman deserved to have a nod. Though actually, I do think you can figure it out. Because my take is that Sheamus burst onto the main scene with so much palaver in 2009, when he did win the World Championship, that when he also won the Royal Rumble in 2012, there were just a few individuals going, oh, stop shoving him down my throat. The thing is, though, nobody should have been clipping Sheamus's wings back then, because the roster was in desperate need of some new blood. Look at the man, he's absolutely ginormous. I met him once, it gave me the heebie-jeebies. There's probably some retroactive thinking in this too, because yes, Sheamus would go on.
He won the Rumble, and usually with the whole thing with the Royal Rumble, you're supposed to get the main event spot, and he got the first match on the card. And it kind of was the same thing for like 2 years, like where the people who won the Rumble end up getting the first match. I know Alberto won the match in 2011. He got the first match, and Sheamus did as well. So, I'm not gonna sit here and say like I don't like the stipulation for the Royal Rumble because I like what it does and what it could mean for WrestleMania. But if your whole goal is to have somebody win the Rumble to main event a show, then they should realistically win the main event, the pay-per-view, if we want to be honest. If you don't see them as a main eventer, then don't give them the win. So I hope that's something that they do, you know, fix in the near future, but that's neither here or there.
On to not main event WrestleMania. In fact, he was in the opening match This is when he booted Daniel Bryan in the head, won the World Championship in about 18 seconds. Also, when you do go through everybody else, who should have won it? Like CM Punk and Chris Jericho were in the other world title program, so they were going to be fine. And yes, on this night at WrestleMania, it was John Cena versus The Rock. Neither of those guys were going to win the Rumble. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered if Steve Austin had come back. Nobody was going to go on later than The Rock versus John Cena. So actually, I think you could make a pretty good argument that we were trying to make new stars and we were trying to light a new rocket under Sheamus's ass. But I think this was perfectly fine, and all the other problems are actually more exclusive to WWE as a whole. That's right. Number 8, Triple H in 2016, which also ties into this one because
I'm sorry. I did not like that one. It was just, I get what they were doing. They were going with this whole, like, Roman Reigns versus all type of storyline where he was just going up against the Authority, but the fans just was not buying into the idea of this match. People were sick and tired and over Roman at this point. They wanted someone else. And the fact that you had the WWE Championship be defended in the Royal Rumble, which was a good idea, mind you, which I hope that's something we could see more of in the future, but still, you gave it to Triple H, who did not need to win the match. He did not need to win the title. The feud was already doing what it needed to do to an extent. Who should have won? I always stand by what I said. Dean Ambrose, or aka Jon Moxley, should have won the Royal Rumble in 2016. He was literally one of the most over in the company, and then you could have maybe set up the Shield triple threat maybe for WrestleMania. If by chance Seth Rollins was going to probably be cleared in time, maybe you could have done a triple threat. Or you could have turned Roman Reigns heel in the lead up to WrestleMania 32, and this would have gave us at least a serviceable main event. But no, it had to be Triple H and Roman Reigns. Nobody wanted it.
Because yes, in 2016, Vince McMahon had decided, well, listen, everyone, I'm going to get Roman Reigns over whether you like it or not. The problem is, the answer was not. What really ticked the audience off, though, is that rather than just turn Roman heel, which as we know today would have been a great idea, we continually put him in positions where he didn't have a hope in hell. Still feel sorry for Roman Reigns from this period. There's nothing he could have done. And that is why on this night at the Royal Rumble, everybody thought he was going to become the WWE champion. When WWE went, we got a better idea, and Triple H is going to win it instead. Now listen, you can work this one out for yourself as well. Triple H was such a good heel. Everybody had decided, well, I'm sure he can turn the tide. But as we know, in 2025, it wouldn't have mattered if, I don't know, the actual devil had walked down the aisle. Everybody was still going to boo Roman. I mean, do you remember that time when Hunter tried to murder Reigns on Raw? What did the fans do? They all cheered. That's when everybody was like, you know what? We're totally boned. The other part to this as well is that when we got down to the final two, it was Triple H taking on Dean Ambrose. Actually, this goes back to my Sheamus conversation. In 2016, people wanted to see new blood get pushed, and if Dean had thrown out Triple H, well, that's a massive game changer.
Exactly.
Then go watch this Rumble and listen to the fans. It also would have meant you could have done the 2 former Shield members at that WrestleMania.
Exactly.
Awesome. That's just what WWE does. They always want a legacy talent in those spots. Triple H versus Roman Reigns was fine, I suppose. I mean, it's just another asterisk on the crazy ride of the big dog. Number 7, John Cena in 2013. Because it was meant to be once in a life.
Yep. It was supposed to be just one match, and it ended up being in a feud that they built for another year. It was for the WWE Championship this time around. It didn't need to be for the WWE Championship. But they decided to make it for the WWE Championship for whatever reason. Now, I do remember, I think at the time, I think Ryback, it was supposed to win or whatnot, but that didn't come to fruition, and I'm glad that it didn't. But what should have happened if the cards were like the actual pay-per-view's card was shuffled up a little bit, and you had the WWE Championship be like a little bit early in the show, even though it probably wasn't going to be. You could have had CM Punk win the Rumble in 2013 and insert himself in this feud and made a triple threat for the WWE Championship. I'm going to be honest, because if we want to be honest, CM Punk just happened to have one of the better matches at WrestleMania 29. It was way better than this one. I guarantee you that much. What were we doing in 2012 and 2013? What were we doing in the early 2010s?
time. That's why the audience was annoyed. In hindsight, why we ever thought that The Rock versus John Cena was only ever going to be a one and done, I don't know. But I guess that's just suspending disbelief. If you don't do that, why even watch wrestling? It also told you that when The Rock did take on CM Punk at the Royal Rumble, that CM Punk was going to lose.
Yeah.
And that's where the beef is here. So many people are like, this is CM Punk's WrestleMania. Even more so because he's been the champion for like 434 days. I still fall on the side of the fence where I'm like, we probably could have just done a three-way, although make it elimination three-way, and then Punk could have been there for 5 minutes. When you do go, poop, thanks for coming, then he does get his WrestleMania main event. John Cena versus The Rock was once in a lifetime, but instead we all bought into that stupid catchphrase. Also, though, let's not be funny here. It is John Cena The Rock. Just talked about it, you ain't gonna find anyone bigger. This was also during a time when the anti-Cena brigade were just out in force. They were like, it doesn't matter what he does, or what he says, or who he beats, or who he loses to, we're just going to boo him. Now, it did make for a very interesting WWE, and the atmosphere was crazy, but after a while, to use a very modern word, well, it did get a little bit toxic. Number 6, Mr. McMahon in 1999. I mean, it pissed people off, but that was the intention, because Vince McMahon, the corporation, walked into...
If that's what they wanted, that's what they got. They wanted to piss people off, and that's exactly what happened. People were pissed. The fact that Mr. McMahon eliminated one of the most over people in WWE history in Stone Cold, eliminate him to win. Bro. I feel like we're probably going to see something similar. And what I mean by that, I'm not saying Vince McMahon comes to the Royal Rumble and does anything. I'm talking about like something to that level of heat. I feel like we're going to see something to that level of heat this year, for sure, probably.
Royal Rumble, and they were like, hey, Steve Austin, we're going to make sure you don't win. The other main source of contention was that Vince McMahon is Vince McMahon, and he wasn't a wrestler, so why the hell didn't we just do our story beats with Stone Cold and given this spot to somebody else and sent them up to the moon? Secondly, if his job was just to stop Austin, which they did do, why, in terms from a creative point of view, couldn't have we have just left it there? I think it comes down to the fact that Vince McMahon had booked so many Royal Rumbles. One day he woke up and thought, wait a minute, I can win it if I want. So he did. It was also the first sign that maybe this feud was taking over a little bit too much, although once again, go and look at the ratings, the numbers, and the financials, the World Wrestling Federation was flying. It did, however, expose the company in the sense they had nobody else ready to go, which is why they were so lucky The Rock did hit the highs that he did do. I get that nobody was going to be able to follow Steve Austin, but outside of these two guys, well, go and look what happened in 2002. Of course, when we got to WrestleMania, we still did The Rock versus Austin anyway, so I guess you could say we did think outside the box here, but the Royal Rumble winner position is taken quite seriously. That's why you always have to tiptoe around it. Number 5, Big John Studd. Now, the core idea here was very fun because the Royal Rumble structure was taking shape, because not only do we have 30 competitors, but with all the entrances, this thing went over an hour. You also did lean into the whole every man for himself because Demolition were in at number 1 and 2, and this was crazy, and Big John Studd winning was fine. It was the first time we went, oh my God, he's such a gigantic man. Nobody's going to be able to throw him over the top rope. The only reason he does get thrown in at number 5, though, is because this didn't help him at all. And all everybody was talking about afterwards was the mega powers exploding, or imploding. And of course, they were going to go on to main event WrestleMania, whereas Big John Studd was basically not going to do anything at all. I mean, he was the special guest referee at Mania between Jake Roberts and Andre the Giant. This is a damn Royal Rumble winner. And look, it was really nice that Studd did get his moment because his career was on the final part of its run. But again, if you are ranking the importance of Royal Rumble winners, well again, he just won a Royal Rumble, then he was moved to the side. Seems somewhat ridiculous. Number 4, Randy Orton in 2017. Straight up, Randy Orton was a good choice to win the Royal Rumble in 2017.
I didn't mind this one with Randy winning, but I feel like there were better options to potentially win. Like, honestly, the person that should have won is the same person that should have won in 2012. Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho should have won the Royal Rumble. Because, if you want to be honest, from a story perspective, they have been planting the seeds between Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho for months up until this point. With the whole Festival of Friendship thing that took place a little bit after this, this would have been a great way to set up these two competing for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania 33, and this would have been a great way to finally have Chris Jericho finally do one of the things that has eluded him in his career by winning the Royal Rumble to set up him and Kevin Owens in the main event of WrestleMania to win a world championship once again in his career, which would have been a big moment for him. But what did you do? You gave it to Randy Orton, and it went to a lackluster feud between him and Bray Wyatt that year. R.I.P. to Bray Wyatt. But still, it didn't do anything. It didn't do anything. And then and the person who didn't even win, Roman Reigns, got the main event. And that match sucked.
Just the way that WWE went about it. Because yes, we've already talked about it, but this was another time when Vince McMahon just stuck his feet in the floor. It's like, no, we've got to make Roman Reigns become the most popular person ever, when they just went with Randy Orton instead. It's just so strange. It just made for such a crazy booking decision, because what we were doing here is we were doing a wink-wink, nudge-nudge to the hardcore fans who understood that there was a discrepancy between the audience and what was going on behind the scenes, which is why we pretended that Roman was going to win, when from nowhere, Randy Orton got the victory, and that was meant to placate everyone. Whereas deep down on our Tootsie Toes, we were like, no, we just want consistent stories, and we want to be heard. I always think people got bummed out a couple of months later because Roman Reigns was still in the main event of WrestleMania.
Didn't need to happen.
He did indeed take on The Undertaker, and I understand the importance of that match. But Taker had already lost to Brock Lesnar a couple of years beforehand, and the whole point of WrestleMania is that it's meant to be headlined by the Royal Rumble winner. Orton didn't get that at all. Instead, he was match 10 on a way too long card. And he did win the WWE title from Bray Wyatt. This was the same match when they did that overhead projection
That
stuff.
match was weird.
And the picture in the ring, well, it did not look PG. So I'm just going to say that around 2017, WWE had just lost its way. And again, it's because they weren't listening to the fans. That constant back and forth was always a bit of a problem. Number 3, Brock Lesnar in 2002. And man, going off that last sentence,
nobody wanted this one. Nobody wanted this. Nobody. And there were probably a few that would say that they did. But it just made no sense. No sense. You literally had him walk into the Royal Rumble as WWE Champion, lose it to Brock Lesnar. Boom. You could have, because of Roman Reigns. Okay, boom. What? This whole storyline that they built up into WrestleMania 38 was just awful. You had him walk into the Royal Rumble as WWE Champion after beating Big E to win it in a fatal 5-way at day 1. Then you had him lose it to Bobby Lashley at the Royal Rumble. And then what happens? He goes on the same night and wins the Royal Rumble at 30, wins that. He wins the championship in an Elimination Chamber match. And then, bro, this whole storyline just, it makes me irritated. I'm sorry. Like, no.
That was absolutely the issue here. Because there was most definitely internal creative going on in 2022, which is why Brock Lesnar just came out at number 30, eliminated around about 47 people, don't try and do the maths there, when he won the thing. Honestly, he couldn't have been in for more than 3 minutes. It just felt so lazy, especially because it meant the main event of WrestleMania was going to be Brock taking on Roman Reigns, and by this time we had seen that match 4,769.4 times. People were just desperate for something new, which is why Cody Rhodes returning on night 1 of that WrestleMania blew the roof off the place, not just because of the, oh my gosh, how is this happening? It felt like fresh blood. In terms of the Rumble as well, Brock Lesnar had already lost to Bobby Lashley earlier on in the evening. So it's just so confusing. It's like, we've seen you, Brock. Nobody needs to see you again. Number 2, Alberto Del Rio in 2011. I mean, really, in many ways, this was the same as Roman Reigns. Vince McMahon decided, Alberto, you are going to be our brand new Mexican babyface. Even though 1, he was much better as a heel, and 2, even after we turned him, well, here it comes again. The fans still wanted to boo him. And sure, by this point, we were still figuring all of this out, but you could feel it in the ether, what the company wanted to do. And again,
it didn't help that he was not ready. Like, he came in, he debuted in 2010, and then won the Rumble, like, the next year, like, within maybe 2 to 4 months or something like that. But he was not ready. You could have built him up to be a mid-carder and let him hold the US or IC title first, and then build him up from there for at least a year, and then maybe around 2013 or 2012, maybe he would have been a little bit more better in the sense of the eyes of fans. But this was WWE in the early 2000s and early 2010s, man.
Rio did go to WrestleMania where he took on Edge and he lost. So it was like, okay, again, it's not the main event. And two, he wasn't even able to follow up on this. What are we doing to this Royal Rumble slot? From there, it was another scrap with the audience. And of course, this was before Roman Reigns, but you could still feel it when WWE even got rid of Ricardo Rodriguez. He was one of the best parts of the act. 2011 is also when we decided to throw 40 people into the Royal Rumble. And let's just call this for what it was. Everyone was like, well, we have done a lot of these matches. How should we freshen it up? But we didn't think about the stories in the middle of the match or the feuds we could build towards WrestleMania. It was just like, well, why don't we increase the numbers? I've said it once, I'll say it twice. That is lazy. But one Roman Reigns in 2015. So it is the culmination of everything.
I'm so surprised. I'm surprised Ronda Rousey went on this list because she's probably the worst women's Royal Rumble winner. Period. Point blank. I don't want to hear it. Roman Reigns. People did not want to. People weren't interested in Roman Reigns in 2015. I'm sorry. This was just like 2014. People wanted Daniel Bryan in this match. They wanted him to win, and he was in this match, but he got eliminated early in the match. You literally had one of the biggest storylines still in your hands, and you fumbled. WWE, you fumbled it. Like, you literally had him give up the championship. He could have came back, win the Rumble, and you could have had a great storyline going into WrestleMania 31, a David versus Goliath storyline. Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar, WWE Championship, him trying to win the championship that he had to give up. That would have been a compelling story, and a lot of fans would have been invested in it from start to finish, but nope, you wanted to push Roman, and you paid the price for it because people booed him, even though you were trying to make him a babyface. And it didn't help that he was cutting some very terrible promos around this time with the whole Magic Beans promo and then the Suffering Succotash. Like, what were we doing? Is this a guy you want to be your babyface and the guy of your company when you're having him say stuff like that? Ugh. Good God Almighty.
I think we have talked about another reason we did have such a rickety road afterwards. Because finally we went, fine, give the Royal Rumble to Roman Reigns in 2015. But even then, we just had to tiptoe around this. I'm saying it again. WWE was so aware that Philadelphia was probably going to boo the big dog, they sent out The Rock to try and help with this.
It didn't help.
What happened to Dwayne Johnson? He got booed too. Look at this picture. Look at his face. He knows he wasn't happy about it either. Once again, we used Kane and the Big Show to try and trick the fans as well and go, oh, do you want one of these two to win? No, you don't. But actually, if you do go and watch this now, I think Philly would have preferred it. That's the kind of mess we were in. I think Bray Wyatt said it best, but of course here we're talking about Roman Reigns. Anyone but you. I do want to make it clear that none of this was Roman Reigns' fault because we've seen what he can do when he is booked right. Imagine we had the Tribal Chief back then. It would have been absolutely glorious. But as always, WWE was just too stubborn and they refused to change him, which is why this has to be number one. I mean, Rey Mysterio got booed the year before this because he came out at number 30. And I bet everyone backstage before they came out here was like, oh man, I'm going to get cheered. And it ain't even anything to do with me. So it was just Groundhog Day. And though once again, Roman did go and figure it out. But from now on, if you are booking a wrestling company and you have a big old battle royal, sometimes just use your ears. And it'll make everyone's life a lot easier. Now, of course, please do leave me a comment below and make sure you rejiggle this list and let me know what you think. Who is the worst Rumble winners of all?
Yeah, man. I mean, Roman is definitely gonna be on the list. I think a lot of these kind of made sense, honestly, just because either some just weren't ready for that spot, or some just the fans were not into them to the extent of having them win the Royal Rumble. But WWE being how WWE's been. Like, at that point in time, they were stubborn. They did not listen to the fans. They only went with what they wanted and pushed their own agendas instead of listening to the fans, which would have helped the product in the grand scheme of things. But that's neither here or there. But like I said earlier in the video, comment down below. Let me know, who do you guys think is the worst Royal Rumble winner? If they were on this list, let me know who they were. And if they wasn't on this list, let me know who should have been on this list and why. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. road to 900 subscribers, but the ultimate goal we're trying to reach is 10K by the end of this year. So let's do that as a wrestling family, as a wrestling community. I can't get to that milestone without you guys, so let's make it happen. When I do hit 10K, I will do a giveaway. One of my lucky subscribers will have the opportunity to win a WWE Championship from WWE Shop. So if you want to be a part of that, subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. You can always change your mind in the future. But why do you want to do it? I'm trying to give you guys daily wrestling content. The grind does not stop. Super kick that like button. Helps my channel get pushed across the platform so more people can see what I'm doing here on YouTube. Superman Punch the post notification bell so every time I post a new video, which is a reaction video, rant video, any type of video, you can be in the loop with things when I do drop a video. And spear the subscribe button. Takes 3 seconds a day. Those do is 3 things for me. Helps in the progression of my channel as well. But with that being said, hope everybody has a great day, a great rest of your week, and I'll see you guys in the next video.